Julia here from JM2 Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today with a ship with me. These are all orders that came through over the weekend. Kind of an interesting weekend in sales. We've got a couple really fast sellers, a couple really good sales, a couple really cool vintage pieces that I'm excited to talk about because I think that they're the kind of vintage pieces you can find anywhere in this country. But either way, lots to talk about. But before we get started here, guys, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time stumbling on my channel, first and foremost, welcome. I'm Julia. That is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet here. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, it is late in the afternoon. I gotta get these things packed up and off to the post office. So why don't you go grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and let's get into the shipment. So the first thing we have here are these Stuart Weitzman black leather pumps. I picked these up. They were definitely worn. You can tell that there's signs of wear, but there's a lot of wear left in them. Stuart Weitzman shoes are built incredibly well. So they are made to be able to be like refurbished, resold, pretty much ad nauseum. And they're $400 or $500 a pop. So when I saw them, I grabbed them. They were kind of a smaller size. So I was a little bit hesitant on it, but I ended up grabbing them. They did take a little bit of a while to sell. Now, I don't pick up a lot of shoes, so I don't have a big recognition for shoes. So that might have come into play. Either way, I'm glad to be getting these off to a new home. Now, I don't pick up a lot of shoes. They tend to be very bulky. In my experience, with very few exceptions, shoes tend to be some of my slowest movers. I'm so happy to be finding uses for all of the shoe boxes that me and my millennial ways force me to hold on to because they're a really good box. I'm happy to be getting these on the road. But either way, I had them for about a year. Would I pick these up again if I saw them? Maybe if they were a little bit of a bigger size, like a more average size, maybe if they were a more like very current style. But I just like, since I picked these up, I've been extremely selective with my shoes. And this is why I cannot hold on to shoes like this for a year. I just don't have the space for it. Anyway, I had these listed for $54 and we went back and forth on offers and we settled on $45, which I did accept, with a $1 cost at the bins when I got these. This brought me to a profit of $34.20, and this was a sale over on Poshmark. That being said, guys, if you are in the market for a good pair of like classic investment pumps, you know what I'm saying? Like you work in an office and you need like a really good, really built pair of pumps, take a look at Stuart Weitzman because they're pretty reasonable on the secondhand market and they are built so well. Next up, this is one that my mom found and it's so cute, and this is kind of something that I love to find. This is a little bit of a novelty science teacher themed tie, and these kind of things have been selling pretty well for me recently, especially these novelty type ties. I generally keep it because I don't really keep my finger on the pulse of like what kind of men's neckwear is really in, other than kind of being aware of the colors that are popular right now, the width that people are looking for, or like themes that people are interested in. But novelty ties, super preppy theme ties are like kind of an always buy. Like I've found a vintage polo pheasant printed tie. Like that is something that will always sell. There's just always a buyer pool for that super over the top preppy style. And if I don't find a buyer, I have a couple friends who would like that. So that's an easy pickup for me. But either way, these little novelty ties are great. I think that there's a lot of teachers who, like in an effort to make their clothing a little bit more interesting with what they can wear, I think that there's a lot of teachers out there that are wearing stuff like this, and I'm kind of here for it. I think I sell a lot of my like funky vests to teachers as well on the women's wear side. But either way, this was one of 3 kind of novelty ties that my mom picked up at the same time. I think they probably came from the same closet. Anyway, so I had it listed for $32. I had it for about 8 months and I got a $27 offer on it, which I gladly accepted with a $1-ish cost from my mom's bin. This is probably more like 50 cents or 75 cents. This brought me to a profit of $20.60, and this was a sale over on Poshmark. You know, if you have a bins location that sells by weight, you should absolutely be taking a look at those ties because they cost so little. They take up no storage space. They're just a really good buy and they sell surprisingly well. But obviously you need to know what to pick up and what not to pick up. Next up, this is something to always pick up. This is a vintage wool fisherman's sweater. This is in a classic cable knit pattern. I learned when I found this that a lot of these patterns, I can't believe I didn't know this before, a lot of these patterns, just like tartans, are connected to specific clans. So say your last name is McDonald or something like that. You would probably have a specific knit pattern for these kind of sweaters. Isn't that cool? The wormholes I go down, man, I'll tell you. But you should pick these things up anytime you see them. They are the kind of things that are extremely expensive to buy new. And if cared for, heirloom quality, these will last for generations. And they're the kind of things that will just kind of always sell for a really, really good price, especially if you can find one that's vintage. And this is the kind of thing that you will find all over this country, right? Like this is, first of all, it's odd to find one here because it's rarely like colder than 60 degrees in Southern California, like very rarely colder than 60 degrees. But this is probably, if you know of anybody who has traveled to Ireland, and Ireland's one of the more popular countries that Americans travel to the point where we actually have customs on Irish soil. This is probably one of the most common souvenirs that people buy while they're over there. They go to the Aran Islands and they buy a sweater. So keep your eyes out for this. You'll be able to tell, even if there's no tag in them, you'll be able to tell if it's wool just by like the weight of it. And if you need to double check, go find an acrylic sweater somewhere else in the bins or in the thrift store and kind of like feel the weight difference. If it's heavier, it's gonna be wool. When you're dealing with like a chunky sweater, wool, cotton, and linen sweaters tend to be quite heavy. Or rami, R-A-M-I-E, which is more commonly found in vintage sweaters, but that's usually where the weight comes from. Anyway, I had this listed for just 2 months. I had it listed at $64 and I got an offer for $50, which I did accept. With a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $36.47, and this was a sale over on eBay. Also, just a reminder, guys, if you have one of these, do not try to wash it because thick wool like that will nap up and shrink. So take that to a professional to take care of. Next up, another thing that I think you guys can find really anywhere in this country. This is a pair of vintage Abercrombie & Fitch jeans. And these are a little bit less Y2K. These are like the late, like 2005 or so. The first thing that I thought of was Lizzie McGuire. But the reason I bring this up is because trends, when they move, they don't just move over time, right? Like they don't just kind of ebb and flow over time. There is a geographic component to it. So typically, like at least in the States, in terms of mass adoption, you will see trends kind of hit major cities like New York and LA first, and then they'll start to trickle into the surrounding areas and like the secondary cities like Chicago, Dallas, Seattle, etc. And then they'll start to trickle into suburbia and then into the rural areas. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because stuff like this is the kind of stuff that was in LA. This kind of stuff was probably mostly in the thrift stores like 5 to 10 years ago. And people were kind of cleaning out their closet and they were at the height of uncool. But if you are in a more rural area, chances are this trend hit a few years after it hit the coasts. So you will probably be seeing stuff like this in the thrift store a little bit more frequently because Abercrombie was a mall brand. It was everywhere in the country, right? But the other thing you have going for you is you don't necessarily have these like hardcore young fashionistas that are scouring the bins for pieces like this. Like I'm kind of surprised that I got my hands on this. This is the kind of stuff that the kids are always like running for. So anyway, just keep your eyes out for like Y2K era Abercrombie & Fitch. Those baby doll tops from Hollister and Abercrombie are selling for insane prices. I'm talking like the last one I just saw sold for $200. Now in a million years I will not get my hands on one here. Those things are probably out of the thrift stores by 5 minutes after open, or they're out of the bins long before I even get to the side. But if you are in a place that doesn't have these Instagram trendsetters like you have in New York and LA, there is treasure to be found, and it might be something that you would otherwise walk right past because it looks like old Abercrombie. Anyway, these, perfect example. So I had these for about 2 months and I had them listed at $32. I got an offer for $25. And with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $18 even. This was a sale over on Poshmark. Now, if you're able to find the true Y2K ones, the super low rise flares, or the mini skirts, the denim mini skirts, or even the denim kilts, those will sell more towards like 40, 50 and up. So guys, keep your eyes out. Maybe spend a little time learning the older Abercrombie and Hollister tags so you can identify them as you're sorting through. But either way, keep your eyes out. Because again, that is the kind of stuff that can be found anywhere in this country. And probably more so in more rural and suburban and farther away from bigger city areas. Next up, now this was something that I was not sure how fast it would move. They're from a brand called Closed, which is a really, really expensive brand. I want to say that they're based in Germany. Really high quality stuff, beautiful pieces. And these are just this, you know, again, weird and well made. That is something that I keep my eyes out for. And these are like a cupro satin, really, really soft, really flowy. And they're these kind of oversized, baggy cargo shorts. And I wasn't sure, but as soon as I listed them, I did get quite a bit of interest in them. So that was promising. I think they retailed for about $300 just to kind of give you an idea of the price of their stuff. But I think between the metallic aspect of it and the baggy kind of cargo aspect of it, this is something that's just like very on trend right now. And I'm pretty sure that they're still for sale, or at least as of the time that I got them, they were still for sale on the Closed website. I always wonder how stuff like this makes it not just into the thrift store, but into the bins, because these did have a tag on them. This was a store pull. You know, somebody getting a $300 pair of shorts, wearing it once and then donating it, that's wild to me. Just call me. I'll come and pick them up. I will sell them for you, you know? Either way, I had these listed for just 3 weeks and I had them listed for $60. And I got an offer for $48, which I gladly accepted. And with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $43.57. And this was a sale over on Depop. But again, super, super quick sale here. So I'll never be mad about that. All right, next up, we've got another one that I knew was gonna be a pretty quick sale. This is from Pilcrow, something that I initially bought for myself because I love the color combo and I love the vibes of it, but it was just like open here and I can't be without a bra. That's like not a thing that I can do. And it didn't look right with like a tank top underneath. Anyway, you know, I try to buy things, even when I'm buying for myself, when I'm out thrifting, I try to buy things that I know that if they don't work for me, they will, you know, work well as a resale item. It's like a little bit of hedging my bet. It's difficult when you have like curves to work around where it's kind of historically pretty difficult to shop to start with. It's nice to have that like backup plan. So anyway, tried it on, didn't love it, got it listed. And it popped off pretty quickly, not surprisingly. It's very much like the kind of thing that's in right now, that kind of collegiate prep, very, very popular. Rugby shirts in general, guys. You should be keeping your eyes out for rugbies, especially if you can find vintage ones like the big brand back in the 80s. They're still around today, but it's called Barbarian rugby shirts. And you'll be able to like feel them. Like if you have any kind of eye towards finding quality just by quality, you will have picked that up because it feels like something that's made really well. But Barbarian is pretty much the best brand out there for like classic style rugby shirts. But rugby style, still huge this year. That was big last year. I think it's gonna be even bigger this year as the more classic preppy style continues to really like gain traction in popularity. But anyway, I had this listed for $54. I had it listed for just under 1 month and I sent an offer for $48, which was accepted with a $2 cost at the bins. This brought me to a profit of $36.48, and this was a sale over on Poshmark. So I hope she loves it. I hope it worked better for her than it did for me. So, so cute. Next up, now this is a vintage piece that I just had to grab. This is from Gap. This is probably early 90s Gap, back in the kind of 90s does the 70s era. I'll never forget growing up like in the early days of AOL, back when you used to get the little CDs. But I remember, you know, we're like, I don't know, 13, 14 years old, and her screen name on AOL was like Hippie 44. Like we knew what hippies were at, you know, 13, 14 years old in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So I try to give grace to the kids wearing like Nirvana t-shirts today. You know what I'm saying? Although they may have actually listened to them. Anyway, this feels so 1970s. It's got little cloth covered buttons. This was something that I knew was gonna be like a specific buyer, but I knew it would go just because it's so unique. But look at that old Gap tag. Remember that? But talk about the kind of thing you can't just go out into a store and buy, you know? Especially not from Gap. Though I do love that Gap is having itself a real renaissance. I love that they're bringing back the old school Gap commercials with the dancing. I loved them back when they first started them in the 90s, and I still love them today. Either way, vintage Gap is something that I'm always gonna pick up when I see it, as long as it's kind of like 90s vintage Gap. Quality of the stuff back then was insane. You can never get your hands on a Gap sweater from back then, and you're probably not gonna get your hands on too many of them, because I'm gonna guess that most of the vintage Gap sweaters are still in people's closets. They're like overbuilt. You know what I'm saying? So keep your eyes out for it when you're thrifting as well, like even for yourself. But either way, I had this listed for $32. I had it listed for about 7 months. Again, I knew it was gonna be a pretty specific buyer. And I don't know if you watched my Fashion Week roundup, but this kind of orange is kind of one of the accent colors of the season. So kind of not surprised that it moved right after Fashion Week. The day that I'm filming this is the day that that video went live. So it's very fresh in my mind. Anyway, the buyer sent an offer for $25, which I did accept. And with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $19.79. And this was a sale over on eBay. As we say in the vintage world, find another, right? Orange paisley vintage Gap shirt. Yes, please. I will pick that up all day long. Next up, this is another one that went super duper quickly, and this is from Madewell. Now, I don't pick up a ton of Madewell, but I do pick up pieces like this from Madewell. They're more significant pieces in really nice fabrics, still sell very, very well. They're basics, not so much. They're kind of like blend sweaters, definitely not something that I would pick up. They do have quite a few like acrylic sweaters, but when you find like an all cotton, this is cotton corduroy, little pinwheel, embroidered flowers, stuff like this does move quite well. And I'll tell you, as soon as I listed it, I started getting interest in it. This is something that I was pretty sure was gonna sell fast, and then the second that I hit publish on it, I knew it was gonna sell fast. And it's this weird color. So you're looking at it on the camera, and on the camera it looks brown. In here, because I've got all the lights on it, it looks like a dark brownish green. This is one of those chameleon colors. Like even the color Way, per the name from Madewell, was like something spinach. And I remember looking at it at first because I was looking at it upstairs, and it was kind of, the room was darker, it just looked brown, and I'm like, where's the green? And then I turned the lights on, I'm like, oh, there's the green. Anyway, I digress. Keep your eyes out for more significant pieces from Madewell, especially if you're buying at the regular thrift store. Like I would have paid up for this, no problem, but that's kind of my limitation. I stay away from more basic pieces and certainly any kind of like blends. But if you have like a wool or a mohair or silk, a jacket, etc., for sure, I'm like checking comps and seeing if that's worth picking up. But either way, I had this listed for just 4 days, and I had it listed at $54. And I'll tell you, I had 4 or 5 offers on Depop that didn't go through, just like in those 4 days. But I had it listed at $54. I got an offer for $45. Again, one of those Depop offers, which I did accept, and it did end up popping through. And with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $41.45. Of course, this was a sale over on Depop, and I hope she absolutely loves it. That is just a very perfect little jacket for right now. Lightweight, goes with everything, very on trend. Next up, now this is something I paid up for, but it was just so beautifully made. This is from a designer called Nicholas. And I picked this up on one of those kind of tougher days at the bins when I went and supplemented with a thrift store trip, which I do from time to time. And this just felt so wildly well made that I had to grab it, and it retailed for something crazy like $200 or $300. I believe this was part of a 2-piece set, sold on Revolve. Just one of those crazy expensive Revolve brands. I think the main holdup on this was the size. It's quite small. I want to say that this is an extra small, but definitely a label to keep your eyes out for, because resale comps on the brand, not necessarily this shirt, there wasn't too many of these, but resale comps on this brand were high, very high. This is the first piece I've ever found from them, and I haven't found anything since. But either way, I had this listed for about 4 months. Again, I think the main holdup here was the size on this, because this is something, with it being kind of very special and it being like a cream color, you can use the bachelorette, bridal, you can use those kind of keywords with this. Because this is 100% something that somebody would wear, you know, out for the night on a bachelorette party or, you know, on a bachelorette trip. But I had it listed for $78 and I got an offer for $65, which I did accept. With a $6 cost at the thrift, this brought me to a profit of $46 even, and this was a sale over on Poshmark. So I hope she loves it. It is so, so pretty. I was wondering when that would pop off. Speaking of things that people can wear to bachelorette parties, there's this adorable little dress from SKIMS. Now this is something that I found just recently at the bins. This sold so quick. Now SKIMS is something that I'm always gonna pick up, especially at the bins, pretty much no matter what I find. It resells fabulously right now. But this little dress, it's cream, it's ribbed, it's really soft. It's got that like kind of pieced bust in the front, so it kind of gives the illusion of lingerie, and the straps have that like little bit of a lingerie look to them. But when I got home, the sold comps on this seemed insane. Like there were some sold comps that were like $100. Now I'm gonna guess that this probably sold out and had some demand placed on it. I think it's still for sale on the website, and price-wise, I wanna say it was like 60 bucks. But yeah, there were some sold comps that were at like $100 for this. I will almost never, with very rare exception, expect that much more than a retail price. And when I started looking at other marketplaces, sold comps were between like 30 and 40 on it. That seems more in line with what I typically see in terms of percentage of like retail price from SKIMS, which is still fantastic. So do keep your eyes out for SKIMS. The branding is typically very subtle, so do some research, maybe look online to look at what the tags look like if you've never had a piece in your hands, or stop by Nordstrom where you can see them in person so you know what to look for, so you're not missing any, so you're not leaving anything behind. It's a brand that is worth paying up for sure. So anyway, I had this listed for just 3 days, and I had it listed at $46, and I got an offer for $38, which I did accept. And with the $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $28.40, and this was a sale over on Poshmark. So I hope she loves it. It is an adorable little dress. All right, next up, we're getting there, guys, is this adorable little sheer organza vest. Now, again, if you watched my Fashion Week roundup the other week, you know that sheers and this kind of softness are really hot right now. And again, this is the kind of vintage piece that you will find all over this country. You know, this was very much of the 90s. These kind of like kitschy vintage vests sell so well for me. And I mean, listen, you're not gonna be getting huge amounts for them, so it's not something to be paying $10 for, paying up. But if you're seeing them in the bins, I'm talking like denim, embroidered denim vests, patchwork vests, things that look like either a grandma or an art teacher wore them back in the 90s. And there are grandmas and art teachers everywhere in this country, so make no mistake about it, there are some like whimsical vests in every thrift store anywhere. Pick them up. I pretty regularly get about $25 for stuff like this, maybe a little bit more for like a shirt. I also like to keep my eyes out for those like novelty embroidered shirts, lots of like Halloween themed shirts or like Christmas themed shirts or like whimsical springtime shirts, you know, whatever, you get what I'm talking about. But keep your eyes out for them. They sell like usually within a month for me. For this one, I had it listed at $32 and I had it listed for just 1 week. And I will tell you, this had so many offers on it on Depop that didn't pop through, but like so much interest. It's weird and well made. It's sheer, which is like of the moment. But again, the kind of thing that you cannot go to the mall and buy, and people are looking for it. The people that are here that can't find them in the thrift stores here are buying them like crazy online. So anyway, had it listed for $32, got an offer for $25, which again is about par for the course for what I get for these, which I gladly accepted with the $2 cost at the bins. This brought me to a profit of $21.40, and this was a sale over on Depop. So this was one of the offers that I got really quickly. So I hope she loves it. Yeah. See, this is going to Brooklyn. Like, she could never find something like this in the Brooklyn thrift stores because they're snapped up. It's like so quick. Anyway, hope she loves it. And then finally, oh, this beautiful dress. So this is from Laundry by Shelly Segal. It's got this beautiful beading straight out of the 90s. It's this beautiful like cream upper layer with a like mauvey pink underlayer. And this sold so quick, and I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the size, because this was a size 2, if it wasn't for the size, this would have sold way quicker. The amount of people I had contacting me for measurements was insane. But it just goes to show, like, this kind of silhouette, this bias cut, midi length, handkerchief hem, cowl neck, silk silhouette that was very popular in the 90s. Like, I'm sure if any of you guys were, you know, around and dressing in, you know, cocktail attire in the 90s, you probably wore something similar. It is red hot right now. I really want this cowl to sit right in the packaging. There we go. And it's the kind of thing that if you go to the stores today, you will find basically knockoffs of this. You're not gonna find it in silk with this level of beading, unless you're paying many hundreds of dollars on it. So I knew that this would go quick, and I knew it would go for a really good price. But I do think that that size 2 was the only thing that slowed it down. But either way, something like this, if you see it, pick it up, comfortably pay up for it. If it's $10 on the dress rack at the regular thrift store, you better be picking that up, because it will be in and out of your hands so quick. And if it's a larger size, you could probably get a little bit more for it than I did. And this isn't a bad profit in any way, shape, or form. So I had it listed for $79, and I had it listed for just 3 weeks. And I got an offer for $65, which I gladly accepted with a $2 cost. This brought me to a profit of $50 even, and this was a sale over on Poshmark. So again, lots of things that sold today that are interesting vintage that I think you guys can find no matter where you are. But that is it, guys. That is the shipment for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me while I literally get my work done. I always appreciate having somebody to yak with while I get my stuff done. But guys, I hope your falls are going well. I hope your sales are looking strong. I hope you are getting yourself organized and set up for the holiday season, which is like here. And I say that because in my mind, holiday season starts the day after Labor Day, because Halloween starts the day after Labor Day. But guys, if you had fun, please consider leaving a like or comment on this video. Of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, I hope you have the most beautiful week. Happy hunting, and I will see you all